So here's the thing. I can't um, understand this. And I mean, I'm obsessed. Honestly, I'm obsessed because I can't understand how people have this irrational, belief systems, how they can hold on to them, you know, so tight. Like, um, I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed with this whole situation because for me, I don't understand it. I don't get it because on one hand, you have this international order, right? That's based on law and justice and transparency, and it's the Western international order based off of you know the U.S., based off of our liberal democracy and the principles of a constitutional republic, right? Law and order. The international order is based off of law and order. And when it comes to upholding that law and order, then people become selective, right? You have selective accountability, which is a corruption of law and order. It's a corruption of justice, essentially, um, which contradicts and violates those liberal democratic values. It's the opposite of that. And so when people have these stringent views that are irrationally in contrast to this so-called order that they believe in, it's it confuses me. I don't understand it. And so for me, I'm kind of obsessed with trying to figure it out. See, at first I thought I learned about aphantasia, which is the people's physical inability to imagine things, right? Like when you say, close your eyes and imagine this. Imagine a red apple, right? Half of people cannot see, like they don't visually imagine, they can't see a red apple in their mind, right? And which was a surprise to me because I can see a red apple. I can imagine a black person or a white person or an Asian person holding it. No problem. I can imagine myself holding it, like away from me. I can see me holding it in my mind. And, you know, something like half of people can't, right? Even that inner voice. So, some people uh, are so far to the point to where they can't even hear that, right? Like your self dialogue or whatever. Some people don't have it, which is, it was a surprise to me. I'm sure it's a surprise to a lot of people. It's a new concept that they're researching, right? That's how bad communication with humanity has been. That we didn't know that about each other, you know. And so for me, learning about that was kind of a revelation. Like, oh, maybe if you take A, some historical event, plus B, which is time moving forward, and you get to C, which is here where we're at. And when you place C in front of some people, they cannot imagine B or A. They can't imagine how you get there. A plus B equals C. Because they can only see the letter C. They can't see A and B. They can't imagine A and B. That was my thought. Like, oh, that's why. Because they don't have the ability to put things together, even though the world still functions and everyone is still, professionals at all kinds of things. Um, and so I thought, okay, maybe, you know, we can, if we adjust the way that we communicate and we can help reach more people or something, or we can kind of understand these basic concepts together and how corrupt and broken that way of thinking is, how broken those principles are, right? Um, but even in that sense, like, I've had discussions with people who clearly did have the ability and clearly did know about that. And they did know about B and A, but still were so illogically dedicated to their irrational belief system. And so my next thought is, well, okay, um, actually, I don't know. You know, I think sometimes I think, oh, well, maybe they're just racist and they just won't admit it because the selective accountability isn't just random. It's the children of the light versus the children of the dark, right? The story of Amalek that the prime minister was invoking. It's literally the story of the children of light versus the children of dark, which is like a literal meaning, right? Um, and to me, the only other excuse, the only other rationality for believing in these selective accountability principles when you claim that you believe in, liberal democracy and international order and all that other fake stuff, fake because it's corrupt, um, is because they're racist and they just don't want to admit that they're racist. And here's the thing: if you're racist and that's the reason why you support something that is irrational to support, that contradicts your belief systems, then just say that. Because if I know that about you, I'm not going to sit and argue the value of Western principles and the international order, because I know that none of that matters at the end of the day. You have this irrational belief system, which is supremacy, and nothing's going to change that. And so I know that, and it's like, okay, fine, let's move on, let's walk away. Then I don't why I don't there's no need to debate and argue with that. But they don't admit that. They won't admit it because they think that it's morally reprehensible, which it is. um that's not why they don't admit it. They don't admit it because they want to argue and they want to seem like um selective accountability is just the way that it is and that's the way it's always going to be, but it's not. Fortunately, um, you're going to end up destroying the West. You're going to end up delegitimizing the international order by hiding behind these racist principles and not admitting them, because you're upholding this legitimacy but with a corrupt belief system behind it that is not legitimate, right? Because it's corrupted. It violates the principles that you supposedly believe in. And by upholding those principles with a corrupt belief system, you're delegitimizing it. And it's upsetting because I'm arguing in good faith with, actual ideas and historical points and facts and legislature and all of these things, but none of it matters. None of it matters at the end of the day because this irrational belief system of white supremacy in your mind supersedes any of those principles. You just won't admit it. Maybe you like debating and arguing with people, you know, because this nuance gives, you know, time and space to the destruction and the colonial violence. It gives it more space to continue and breathe while we sit here and argue about these principles that you don't even believe in. It's upsetting. Not just because I believe in justice and equality, but because I am exhausted wasting my time arguing with these people.